Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a 2025 Kentucky Derby Contenders video, no longer prospects because the field is just about set for the Kentucky Derby. So this contender that I'm going to be taking a look at is named Tappan Street. His sire or father is a horse named Into Mischief. Its dam or mother is a horse named Virginia Key, who is by Distorted Humor. So the father of Virginia Key or sire is a horse named Distorted Humor. Tappan Street is trained by Brad Cox and ridden by Luis Saez. Here's just a quick look at some of the Kentucky Derby prospects videos I had done recently. Some of these horses may be in the race, some not, but if you're interested in the history and the career so far of any of these runners, feel free to go back and take a look at some of those runners. Here's the date published of those videos, so some of these horses have raced since I published those videos, but here are the dates that they were published. And for any more information on races since, you'll have to do a little bit of your own research, but here's just some of the horses that I've covered thus far. So taking a look at the pedigree of Tappan Street, again, his sire or father was a racehorse named Into Mischief. Into Mischief had 6 career starts, 3 wins, 3 seconds, with almost $600,000 in career earnings. Into Mischief was 1-for-1 routing, meaning going a mile or greater in his races. He is the top earning sire by progeny since 2019, so the horses that he produces are the top earning horses out of any of the sires since 2019. He's the only sire with more than 1 Derby winner in the past 11 Derby. If you go back to this playlist and check out video number 0, the first video I did was go back and look at the last 11 Derbies and look at the pace of the race and who eventually won. And Into Mischief has sired 2 Derby winners in the past 11. But if you go back and check out video 0, I break down the past 11 Kentucky Derbies just to get a sense of how horses are winning the race. Into Mischief was previously the betting favorite at 5-1 for Derby winning sire. You could bet on the winning sire of the upcoming Kentucky Derby, and Into Mischief was the lowest odds of any of the sires, indicating that most people were putting their money on an Into Mischief sired horse to win this year's Kentucky Derby. Into Mischief has sired 9 of the 75 possible 2025 Kentucky Derby entrants this year. So there are 75 horses with points towards the Kentucky Derby. Of course, only 20 start the race, but 75 are eligible. Into Mischief has sired 9 of them, which equates to 12% of the entire field eligible for the Kentucky Derby. Into Mischief has produced 49 different $1 million or more career earners in his stud career, which has began in 2010, and it's just a tremendous producer of talented runners. The dam for Tappan Street, a horse named Virginia Key, was purchased for $90,000, had 4 career starts, 2 wins, 2 thirds, and earned $87,000 in her career, all on dirt. And of course, a Kentucky Derby will be run on dirt, so anytime a horse can pass down an affinity for dirt, that's a positive. In route races, so going a mile or greater, Virginia Key had 3 route races, 2 wins, and a third. Virginia Key broke maiden routing on debut, so first ever race, this horse ran a mile or greater and won first time ever on a racetrack. Ran third in a grade 2, going a mile and an eighth or 9 furlongs. Improved her speed figures each of her first 4 races, so perhaps she could have eventually gotten better, but she went out to the breeding shed and started her new career. Her running profile was a stalk the leader and go, so pretty forwardly placed, sat off of the leaders in the race and would pass them later on in the race, but definitely had a little bit of speed, especially a route speed. The dam sire, so the father of Virginia Key, was a horse named Distorted Humor. Distorted Humor had 23 career starts, 8 wins, 5 seconds, 3 thirds, $770,000 in career earnings. His best races were between 6 and 8 furlongs, so never really got to the 10 furlong or mile and a quarter mark that the Kentucky Derby is run on. He was a lot better going a little bit shorter. At the grade 1 level, the cream of the crop racing in the States, Distorted Humor tried a grade 1 level 4 times and best finish was a 3rd place, and the Kentucky Derby is a grade 1. So hopefully through a mix of the breeding of all these horses, Tappan Street can improve, especially having Into Mischief on his side. Bodes pretty well for Tappan Street. Distorted Humor has sired 173 stakes winners, and I found a quote, "He tends to throw to the distance proclivities to his offspring, and they often improve as they mature." I found this on AmericanClassicsPedigrees.com. So even though Distorted Humor was better at some of those middle distance races, his offspring seems to take to some of the longer distances, and his runners tend to improve as they mature, which Tappan Street is certainly doing early on in his 3-year-old career. Some of the connections for Tappan Street, again, trained by Brad Cox. He has a career win rate of 26% from 10,000 starters. At the graded stakes level, 23% win rate from 950 starters. He was a 2-time recipient of the Eclipse Award for Outstanding Trainer in 2000 and 2001. ranked 4th in wins and 3rd in earnings last year, was awarded a win via disqualification in the 2021 Kentucky Derby. Brad Cox has also run 3rd 2 other times in the Kentucky Derby in 2023 and 2021, so Brad Cox is no stranger to the limelight and the big stage of the Kentucky Derby, can certainly get horses fit enough to run well in the Kentucky Derby. Jockey Luis Saez, career win rate of 17% from 21,000 starters. At the graded stakes level, 14% win rate from 1,500 starters. Saez rode maximum security to a 2019 Kentucky Derby win before getting disqualified for interference. He passed the finish line first, but caused a little bit of traffic issues around the far turn entering the stretch and was eventually taken down from the win position. Saez then rode that same horse to victory in the world's richest race, the Dubai World Cup, but purse was withheld due to doping allegations by the horse's trainer. And I just mentioned this to show that Saez can ride on the biggest stage, just like the trainer can get horses ready for the biggest stage. Saez does not shy away from the limelight, has had success in some of the biggest races in the world, and has performed very well. Saez was 3rd in the 2021 Kentucky Derby aboard Essential Quality, who was also trained by Brad Cox. So this trainer and jockey have teamed up together to run really well in the Triple Crown events. Has 2 Belmont Stakes wins. It's the 3rd leg of the Triple Crown, beginning with the Kentucky Derby, followed by the Preakness Stakes, followed by the Belmont Stakes. 2 wins were in 2024 and 2021, and was ranked 7th in wins and 5th in earnings last year. So Tappan Street, as of April 15, 2025, when I started compiling this video, has 3 career races so far with 2 wins and a second, $643,000 in career earnings. It's currently 14-1 odds in the futures betting pool to win the 2025 Kentucky Derby, according to twinspires.com. Has 110 Kentucky Derby points, ranked 6th out of the 20 spots eligible for the race, which he earned with the first place finish in the 9 furlong or mile and an eighth Florida Derby, as well as a second place finish in the mile and a 16th race Holy Bull Stakes. So why Tappan Street? The field is essentially set for the Kentucky Derby, so I wanted to look at some additional runners that I have yet to cover so far. Tappan Street is sired by one of the most prominent sires when it comes to the Kentucky Derby. Again, that's Into Mischief. Tappan Street is lightly raced heading into the Kentucky Derby, but looks to have a good running style based on how the pace of the race is projected as of now. Tappan Street beat one of the top betting favorites in Sovereignty in the Florida Derby last time out and is still higher odds in the Kentucky Derby futures pool. So Sovereignty, I believe, is about 9-1 in the futures pool. Tappan Street beat Sovereignty and is about 14-1 odds right now. So if he can repeat that, he has a good chance of getting you a good price if he can win the entire Kentucky Derby. This horse is well bred, trained, and ridden by competent horsemen, and ran the best race of his career last time out, so he's eligible to keep improving, being so young and early in his career. So here we're going to start looking at Tappan Street's races, starting with his debut race. I'm just going to go over some notes about the race, and then we'll watch the replay and talk about some of the other runners that were in that race. So for starters, his debut race, first ever race, was a 7 furlong sprint on a fast dirt track. Fast just meaning there was no moisture in the ground. It hadn't rained that day or the day before, so it was dry dirt track at Gulfstream Park. And on a debut race, I'm looking at the body language of the horse and jockey on debut, just see if they're giving off any signs that the horse is comfortable or uncomfortable, or doesn't like dirt kicked in his face, or doesn't like running tight. I'm looking at where the horse is running. Is he out in the open, or is he in tight with horses surrounding him? But as far as the race goes, this horse breaks sharply from post number 7 of 12, stalks leader from between horses early, and remained calm in that somewhat tight position. Hand urging by the jockey begins into the turn and throughout the turn. Falls back around the turn and entering the stretch. Looks to have little chance to win, but gets a tap from the whip and responds very well to run down the leader, who is about 3 lengths ahead of him at the time. Gets a clean rail trip around the turn and entering the stretch. Wins by a length and 3/4 at odds of 2-1. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the race and get a visual representation of what happened. So our horse is number 7. Watch him break cleanly, real straight, real fast. Try to keep my cursor on him best I can. Remember, look at the color cap of the jockey. When you can't really find your horse, memorize the jockey's silk color, so kind of green cap with the white shirt. See, he breaks clean, is in between horses, but the horse and jockey are not panicking. The horse isn't picking his head up. He's just staying focused on the task at hand. Just sitting 1 length off this leader. Not too tight, but certainly in between horses, but head is down. Jockey's nice and calm on him. He's really bottled up in between horses. Can't make a mistake veering in and out, and it's a debut race, so sometimes horses can get a little quirky. Here comes the hand urging by the jockey. You can see he's sitting real low in the saddle and pumping his arms, asking the horse to pick it up. See here, the 10 is making up ground over the 7. The 7 looks to be falling back, and the jockey of the 10 is sitting real chilly, not asking him to do too much. Here comes the whip out on the 7. Doesn't look like he's going to win to me, but he really starts to pick up his feet here. He's fighting back down on the rail, in between the rail and another horse, and just explodes late. Just keeps coming, keeps grinding away. Leader's getting a little bit tired and goes on to win easily in the end. So pretty impressive debut. It looked like he wasn't going to win and then just really rallied and stuck to his task. Very impressive debut. Continues on the gallop out. So looking at some of the other runners in this race, so first place was our horse. It was the first career start with a win. Tappan Street, debut race, won passing horses in a 7-furlong sprint, responded well late. It's a good sign when horses can pass horses. Sometimes horses, you'll look at their run line and they rarely, if ever, pass other horses. So the fact that Tappan Street passed a horse that was 3 lengths clear of him in the stretch bodes pretty well for his future. Second place finisher has 6 career starts as of now, not when this race took place, but since then he may have had a race or two. As of now, 6 career races, a second and a third. The horse was named Bob Moe, was purchased for $410,000. This race we just watched was the 4th career start for this horse and best race to date. This horse is still a maiden, meaning has yet to win a race. Third place finisher has 5 career starts, a win, a second and a third, a horse named Multiverse. Purchased for $575,000. This was 3rd career start, the race we watched. Has improved in 2 subsequent starts, so after this race that we just watched, has run better the next 2 times. Breaking maiden and running second in the stakes, both going 6 furlongs on the dirt. So after this race, this horse came back, broke its maiden, so won its first ever race, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. And then after that, went into a stakes race, 6 furlongs on the dirt, and ran second there. So maybe this horse is just more of a sprinter, doesn't want to go a full 7 furlongs, so maybe does some of his better running shorter. Second race, February 1st, 2025 at Gulfstream Park. It was 8.5 furlongs, so a mile and a 16th on a fast dirt track at Gulfstream Park. Stepping up from maiden races, which are fields of horses that have yet to win their first race. A maiden sprint, so a shorter race around 1 turn, to a grade 3 route. So that's quite a step up, going around 2 turns, going over a mile for the first time. So lots of new things for this horse that only has 1 race under its belt. This horse had a nice debut, looking for overall improvement, speed, and late run. He's got to pick it up on both in order to win at the grade 3 level. Tappan Street breaks sharp from post number 3 of 7. Breaks on the lead, but opts to take back and settle in 4th. So breaks really sharp, goes up to the lead, but the jockey asks him just to slow it down just a bit. Was in the 2 to 3 path around the first turn. No traffic issues there. So a path refers to a horse width. So if you're down on the rail on the inside of a turn, that's the 1 path. If you're 1 horse width off of that, so to the outside of the horse on the rail, you're in the 2 path. If you're outside of the horse there, you're in the 3 path, and so on and so forth. And obviously, the wider you are around a turn, the further distance you're running around that turn and around the entire race overall. There was a slight bump in the backstretch, and we'll get an overhead shot of this and you'll be able to see the bumping that occurs and see that the horse responds well, does not get in a fit about it. Was hand urged about 4 wide into the far turn and takes the lead. Chased close to a race with solid fraction, so he was up near the leaders, going relatively quickly for this distance. Gets past in the stretch, well clear of 3rd place finisher. So he runs second, but he was not too far off of the eventual winner, and they were well ahead of the 3rd place finisher in a grade 3, so he's definitely grade 3 caliber. Finishes second place by a length and 3/4 at odds of 8 to 5 as the betting favorite in the race. 9 1/4 lengths ahead of the 3rd place finisher. So in the end, it was a 2-horse race. Of course, you don't know that early on, but they were well clear of the 3rd place finisher, who is not a threat to win. So let's watch this race. So we are horse number 3. Watch, he breaks cleanly, gets out to the front, but then the jockey just kind of takes a hold of the reins. Right here in the all white colors. He's out in front right now, but isn't determined to stay on the lead. Well off the rail, 2, 3, maybe even the 4 path at some points. Lets this horse go out in front of him, so now he's out in the clear. No horses to his outside, none to his inside. He's not going to opt to take down to the rail. He's going to stay wide around the turn. Just run in a straight line, no horses in his way. Plenty of room to breathe. 23.5 seconds to the opening quarter. Just sticks to the outside. We're going to go to the overhead shot here shortly, and we'll see a little bit of bumping, and the horse just keeps on running through it. See right there, horse kind of cuts him off. Doesn't really break stride, but a little adversity. So you can see he's making his move now on the outside, heading into the turn. Bottom right, there's a little diagram of where they are in the race. Another hand urging job into this turn. Whip's not out yet. Jockey's asking him to go. Looks like the whip's out. He hasn't felt a tap yet, as far as I can tell. And just takes over here. And we know he runs second. Maybe this move was just a little bit premature. The jockey's asking him for his best. It looks like he gets down a little bit towards the rail. Was 4 wide on the turn, but down near the rail, saving some ground. And now it's just a 2-horse race, and Burnham Square passes Tappan Street. Tappan Street fighting back, not giving up, but definitely not going as fast as the eventual winner. And you'll see how far they were from third place finisher right there. So taking a look at some of the others in this race, that first place finisher, as of today, has 6 career starts, 3 wins, a second and a third, a horse named Burnham Square, 3 wins and 6 starts, so this is clearly a talented horse. This was 4th career start, the race we just watched, nearly $1 million in career earnings, current Kentucky Derby points leader, won the 9 furlong or mile and an eighth grade 1 bluegrass last time out. So this is a talented horse, just won his last Derby prep before going into the Kentucky Derby and will be squaring off with Tappan Street in the Kentucky Derby. So Tappan Street is going to have to turn the tables on Burnham Square at Churchill Downs. Second place finisher, Tappan Street, the horse we're looking at, 2 career starts. That was a win. That was his second place. Big jump up in class for his second career start. Ran very well. Was beaten by a very good, more seasoned horse that is destined for the Kentucky Derby. And the third place finisher that was 9 lengths back, 4 career starts, a win, a second, and a third, a horse named Burning Glory. This was his 4th start and most recent start. So this was the last race that Burning Glory has run in. First start after breaking his maiden, going 8 furlongs on the dirt, also sired by Into Mischief. So Tappan Street and Burning Glory have the same sire or father, Into Mischief. Burning Glory, like Tappan Street, broke his maiden, but Burning Glory broke his maiden going 1 mile, so maybe has an affinity for longer races. Tappan Street broke his maiden going 7 furlongs, 1 turn. So Burning Glory might be a better router, so we thought at first. However, Tappan Street faced him, beat him easily. First time routing, so that bodes well for Tappan Street, losing close to Burnham Square, but beating this router by 9 lengths. Most recent race, March 29, 2025 at Gulfstream Park. 9 furlongs or 1 mile and an eighth on a fast dirt track at Gulfstream Park, stepping up from 8.5 furlongs grade 3 to a 9 furlong grade 1. So going a little bit further and facing tougher company. Grade 1 is the cream of the crop, top level of racing. Will need to improve to outkick the other late closers and sustain his rally going longer against tougher competition. As we watched last race, he made his move around the turn and just was unable to outkick some of the other more talented runners. He's going to have to step up his game if he wants to outkick any of the grade 1 level closers in this race. Breaks sharp again from post 9 of 10, so that's 3 for 3, breaking sharp from the gate. Breaks on the lead again, but takes back to 4th place, going 4 to 5 wide around the first turn. 3 to 4 lengths back in the backstretch, chasing a solid pace. Solid pace meaning going quick enough up front where you can assume that the front runners are going to get tired later in the race going this distance. Hand urge 3 wide, entering the far turn and into the stretch. Passes the 2 leaders in Outkick Sovereignty, who is tied for 3rd choice in the Kentucky Derby futures betting at odds of 9 to 1. Tappan Street wins by 1 1/4 lengths at odds of 2 to 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at this race, which is the Florida Derby, the final prep that these horses will be running before the Kentucky Derby, and which has produced 3 of the last 11 Kentucky Derby winners. So Tappan Street is number 9 going in now with the red silks and red cap. And Sovereignty, the 3rd choice in the Kentucky Derby betting futures, is number 10 in the all blue. Tappan Street breaks sharply. Looks like he could go to the lead if he wanted, but the jockey just settles him down. We'll kind of keep an eye on Sovereignty too in the all blue because they have similar running styles, and he just follows Tappan Street all the way around the track. Gets a little horse in his way right there. But Tappan Street about 4, maybe 5 wide around this first turn. Running like he typically does, lets the leaders go a little bit. It's going to be looking to make his move on the far turn. A little under 23.5 for the opening quarter, a little bit faster than last race while going a little bit further. Matticat Road, the leader, should also be in the Kentucky Derby. So Tappan Street right here, and Sovereignty right behind him, just stalking him. And you'll see when Tappan Street makes his move in the far turn, Sovereignty makes his move at the same time, just follows him around the track. Never really gains on him once they both really start running for the finish line. But here goes Tappan Street. See the little hand urging by the jockey. See some hand urging by Sovereignty right behind him. Tappan Street kicking away from Sovereignty. Sovereignty coming up. And here they go. His races all look pretty similar. He's coming up on these leaders who's starting to slow down a little bit. Jockey took a little look behind him, probably to see how close Sovereignty was. And here comes the race. Whips out on Tappan Street. He's running nice and straight down the lane. Here comes Sovereignty trying to catch him. But you can see the margin doesn't really change throughout. So they're running about the same speed. Sovereignty closing a little bit, but not very quickly on Tappan Street. So looking at the top 3 finishers in that race, first place, Tappan Street, 3 career starts now, 2 wins and a second, improved this time out and beat a very talented runners, belongs in the Kentucky Derby. Second place finisher has 5 career starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, no thirds, horse named Sovereignty, winner of a grade 3 and a grade 2, and just there a second in a grade 1. Currently third in the Kentucky Derby betting odds and 7th in Kentucky Derby points. Also sired by Into Mischief, so shares the same sire or father as Tappan Street, that very talented Kentucky Derby producer. Again, check out video 006 for more information on Sovereignty. I did a breakdown on Sovereignty a while back. Third place finisher, 7 career starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, a horse named Neo Equus. $22,000 purchase, so a pretty good price for a horse that's running pretty well in a grade 1. 2 seconds and 2 thirds are in stakes races. Solid runner, but a cut below what it takes to be a Kentucky Derby winner. So looking at Tappan Street, had to come up with some positives and negatives, and frankly, it was pretty hard to come up with some negatives, but I had to try to find something. But let's start with the positives. Sired by a leading stallion and perennial sire of top Derby contenders Into Mischief, dam or mother was a talented router in her short career. Tappan Street is trained by one of the best trainers in the country. Jockey and trainer ran third together in the 2021 Kentucky Derby. Jockey and trainer are no strangers to racing's biggest stages, so they're familiar with each other, have a history, and have success when running together. Showed on debut, he can race comfortably between runners, so in a 20-horse field, if he finds himself in between other horses, it looks like he should be comfortable and can stick to his task. Good breaker from out of the gate, shows speed, can help mitigate issues with the poor draw, so whether he's on the inside or the outside or in the middle, when it comes Kentucky Derby draw time, whatever post position, at least he can pop out of the gate quick, get up near the front, and settle where he wants to be, so that he doesn't have to pass 10, 15, or 19 other horses in the race. Hopefully only has to pass around 8 to 12 horses at most, but hopefully can just get a comfortable position and avoid any traffic troubles due to his good braking ability out of the gate. Should be able to be in front half of the field early in the Kentucky Derby. Appears professional and nimble, so can move in and out between runners, down on the rail, on the outside, and shouldn't have to pass all 19 other runners. Should be somewhere mid-pack early, I'm guessing. There has been 35 days between his last race at Grade 1 Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby. 32-day average between most recent race and last 11 Kentucky Derby winners. Again, if you go back and watch my video number 000 in this playlist where I break down the race and the pace of the Kentucky Derbies, the average days between their last race and the Kentucky Derby for the last 11 winners was 32 days, so he fits squarely in that time frame. Is syncing up nicely with my Kentucky Derby breakdown video in terms of race fractions, lengths back, overall times, and recent prep races. Again, in that Derby breakdown video, I look at the fractions of the races, how far back the eventual winners were in each of the last 11 races, and Tappan Street is syncing up nicely with where those runners need to be in certain fractions. So go ahead and take a look at that video just to get a little food for thought for how the Derby could and should be won. So some negatives, it took me a while to come up with these, but I had to come up with something. He's relatively light on experience, only 3 races in his career. Will need to run down and outkick top horses. I think he's going to be mid-pack early, so he's going to have to run down the best 3-year-olds that are in front of him early, and he's going to have to outkick some of the top 3-year-olds that are closing with him later in the race. So he's got a lot of work to do in the Kentucky Derby. Has a tendency to race wide around turns. I know in his debut race, he was down near the rail around the one turn he ran in that sprint, but other than that, he has a tendency to race wide around turns. So going a full 1.25 miles, being wide, this horse may end up running 1 mile and 3/8 in total. If he can save some ground in the Kentucky Derby, that would bode well for him. But to stay out of traffic, you kind of have to go wide, but it's kind of pick your poison. You can risk running into traffic by being on the rail, or you can go wide and run a little bit further, but this is a further race and you're going to be losing ground around those turns if you choose to run wide. Has yet to win outside of Gulfstream Park, so apparently this horse likes Gulfstream Park. We have no idea of knowing how this horse is going to ship and take to the Churchill Downs track. Hopefully he takes to it well, but we don't know because this horse has only raced at Gulfstream Park. This horse lost to Burnham Square in his second race, and Burnham Square is racing well as of late, having won the Arkansas Derby leading into the Kentucky Derby. So a horse that beat him soundly, coming from behind him in a race, will be in the Kentucky Derby. So again, he's going to have to outkick a horse like Burnham Square, who has got the best of him before. Granted, that was Tappan Street's second only race, so plenty of room to improve, but Burnham Square seems to be improving as well. So he's going to have to turn the tables on Burnham Square. A few final thoughts. While calling into Horse Racing Radio Network's call-in show today, which airs Thursdays at 3 p.m. West Coast time, they made a couple key points when I told them I was trying to separate Tappan Street from Sovereignty. Sovereignty has the back class from having more races as a 2-year-old. Sovereignty broke his maiden by 5 lengths in a grade 3 at Churchill Downs. And of course, Churchill Downs is where the Kentucky Derby will be run. So Sovereignty may prefer running on that track as opposed to Gulfstream Park, where Tappan Street obviously likes, and Sovereignty may not like that track as much. So the longer race and the longer stretch, where Sovereignty has run very well before, might switch things into Sovereignty's favor. The ownership group for Sovereignty also owns East Avenue, who will be running in the Kentucky Derby and may serve as a rabbit for Sovereignty to ensure a fast pace early, which will benefit the closer that Sovereignty is. So the ownership group has 2 horses in the Kentucky Derby, one a speed horse, one a closer. East Avenue does his best running fast, and a fast pace sets up for those closers. So I think the rabbit idea is to send East Avenue out as fast as East Avenue can run for as far as he can go, which will ensure all the other front runners go really fast and tire out late, allowing a good solid closer like Sovereignty to do his best running late. The Kentucky Derby is 10 furlongs or a mile and a quarter, and Tappan Street has typically made his move entering the far turn under a hand ride, while Sovereignty is a relentless grinder. So I wonder if Tappan Street might run out of steam going a little bit further on a track he's never been on, with a more established Sovereignty chasing him on a track he has dominated on once before. I think the race will shape up a little bit like that Florida Derby, but Sovereignty, we know, likes the Churchill Downs track and should probably like the distance just as much, if not more, than Tappan Street. I do like Tappan Street's chances of running well in the Derby, but I think there are key points, especially about Sovereignty having previous success over the track. But I have to say I'm keeping Sovereignty slightly ahead of Tappan Street on my Derby contender list. Here's a look of my rankings of prospects I've covered. So again, this isn't all Kentucky Derby entrants. These are just of the horses that I've covered so far. I have Journalism on top and Sovereignty and Tappan Street at 2A and a 2B. I got to give the edge to Sovereignty for the reasons we just stated. But Tappan Street, I'm placing third. Hard to find any negatives about this horse. Has a good running style and is improving. So if he can take to the Churchill Downs track and just improve overall, I think he stands a good chance at running a really good race. That's it for Tappan Street. I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, feedback is appreciated, whether it's positive, negative, suggestions, or recommendations. Please send them my way. I would appreciate any likes, subscribes, and or sharing with friends. Go check out my video number 000, Kentucky Derby, Race Pace, and Track Profile. I'll actually add a link to it in the description below for more information about how the previous 11 races were run and won. Again, my target audience is for folks that are relatively new to the sport. So if you know anybody that's a little bit interested in horse racing or just wants to get a feel for the Kentucky Derby in general, you can send them that video above on the Kentucky Derby. Or I also have a couple of playlists targeted to new players. One is how to read the racing form, where I break down the racing form into components, talk about what it's telling you, how to read it, how to decipher it, and the useful information that it gives you. I also have a playlist betting on horse racing, where I go over all the bets that a track typically offers, explain what they are, how much they cost depending on ticket structure, and a few things that I like to look for when I'm placing such bets. So again, if you know anyone, just share those videos or playlists with them. I think it helps out. It should help the sport. I want to help grow the sport. So that's my intention with this entire YouTube channel, is to really target myself towards some of those new players that don't really understand all the nuances and terminology of the sport. So I hope I'm helping, but thank you to everybody for watching this video. Thanks for all the feedback I've gotten in the past. I'm looking forward to this Kentucky Derby. It's a lot more exciting when you have a lot of background information on all the runners and really know where they're coming from. So if you enjoy it, please let me know. But thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.